Guys, Prodigy here, and I'm here to go over with you armor sets that are considered meta in the Waking Flame patch. I will not be going over any trial gear, monster sets, or mythic items. Alright guys, let's get started. First off is crafted. Alright, so the first crafted set we're going to go over is Ashen Grip. Alright, max health, weapon damage, weapon critical. When you deal direct melee damage, you have a 10% chance to breathe fire to all enemies in front of you for X amount of flame damage. It can occur every 4 seconds. Now, you see a lot of quote-unquote one-shot builds using this, guys, like Stam Sorks, okay? And the reason is because it adds to your overall burst. It's really good. And I'm also thinking it's also good because everyone's a vampire, right? Everyone takes flame damage pretty hard, okay? Alright, we got Innate Oxium. Adds max mag, max stam, spell critical, weapon critical, and 400 spell and weapon damage to your class abilities. Alright, so this is good as a versatile set, right? It applies to both sides of the field, so if you want to do a hybrid build, this would probably be the set to go with. Alright, Fortified Brass, guys. Adds maximum health, armor, and 3,500 armor. This is a set, if you don't feel so tanky, you might want to run, like if you're a new PvPer, you might want to run this as one of your sets, because if you look at the armor, it makes you super tanky. Alright guys? Now this set is very overpowered, right? A lot of gankers use it, and even some stam and mag builds that aren't gankers use it, because it applies you with a sick nasty burst for 5 seconds. Although beware, it is getting nerfed a little bit in the coming patch. Alright? Next up, Mechanical Acuity, weapon damage, spell damage, max stam, and max mag. When you deal direct damage, you have 15% chance to gain Unnerving Mechanism for 5 seconds, causing you to always attack with a critical strike. Let's see what we got next here. Hunding's Rage. Adds critical, stamina, critical, weapon damage. Now this is used on a lot of Nightblades, guys, or if you're specifically a crit build, because it gives you a lot of critical chance and some weapon damage. Okay, so if you're like a crit build or you want to be a ganker, you should probably run this. Alright. Next, we have the Law of Julianos, which is the other side of the spectrum. Spell critical, magicka, spell critical, spell damage. So this is the complete opposite, but for magicka users, right? Magical gankers or magical crit builds. Okay. Next up, we have Clever Alchemist, one of my favorite sets in the game. Max health, weapon and spell damage. Then when you drink a potion, you feel a rush of energy, gaining 653 weapon and spell damage for 15 seconds. It's a lot of weapon and spell damage, guys, alright? Currently, right now, it's bugged. You have to actually look at an enemy while you pop your potion for it to activate. And they're fixing that next patch, or maybe sooner. But I just want to let you guys know that, alright? Very powerful set. It's just a little buggy right now. Alright, Armor Master. Max health, armor, and while you have an armor ability slotted, which is like in the medium armor skill tree, light armor skill tree, or heavy armor skill tree, you increase your max health by 5%. When you use an armor ability, your physical and spell resistance is increased by 5,300 for 10 seconds. Another really powerful defensive set, guys, alright? You slot evasive from the medium armor, gives you max health in the back bar, and when you pop it, you get an extra 5,300 resistances. Another one of my favorite sets, guys, Daedric Trickery. Max health, max stam, max mag. When you deal damage, you gain 1 of 5 random buffs for 21 seconds every 9 seconds. So, you have, most of the time you have 2 buffs up at once, alright? Eligible buffs are Expedition, Protection, Mending, Heroism, and Vitality. All really good buffs for PvP, guys. Protection, Speed, and Healing. And ulti regen. Very powerful defensive set, alright? If you need it, run it. Alright, Ancient Dragon Guard. Max health, weapon and spell damage, and weapon and spell critical. And it adds 300 weapon and spell damage while you're above 50%, and then adds 3,500 physical and spell resistance when you're below 50%, alright? So it's a really good offense and defensive set, guys, okay? It's very handy. New Moon Acolyte. Critical for weapon and spell damage, weapon and spell pen, and then adds weapon and spell damage, but increases the cost of your active abilities by 5%. It is a very strong set, guys, but if you don't like to increase your cost, then I would probably go with something different, but it is still very good. The next crafted set is Stoon's Favor. Weapon and spell damage, penetration, more weapon and spell damage, and then when you deal damage to an enemy who is off balance, your physical and spell penetration is increased by 5,300 for 10 seconds. Very strong set, guys. It's also a very good set to run a 3-piece or a 4-piece of, okay? So this set's very versatile. Next up, Heartland Conqueror. Weapon and spell damage, max mag, max stam, and then increases the effectiveness of your weapon traits by 100%. This is by far one of the best sets in the game, and I will say that it will probably stay meta forever. Increasing your weapon traits by 100%, that can go for all the weapon traits like you, except for ornate and intricate. It's very strong offensively and defensively. Double and sharpened, double and powered, defending, you name it. Very good set. Alright guys, that's it for the crafted. Now we get into light armor. First one up, Buffer of the Swift. Max mag, armor, and then reduce damage taken from players by 10%. Very strong. Obviously used on Magicka characters. Pairs really good with a Necro. You get this set inside Cyrodiil from the vendors, or you can purchase it from guild traders. Alright? Next set, Burning Spellweave, max mag, spell damage, spell critical, and when you deal damage with a flame ability, you have a 20% chance to apply Burning Status effect and increase your spell damage by 600 for 8 seconds, guys. You can only get this from the City of Ash dungeon, alright? 1 or 2, alright? Very powerful on, characters that use a lot of flame attacks. Next, Kalorian's Legacy. Spell critical, spell damage, spell critical. When you deal critical damage with a single target ability, you launch fire, ice, shock, or disease ball to target, doing X amount of damage, and applies a status effect. Very powerful set. A lot of mag gankers use it. It's also going to be buffed next patch. It's only going to need to be procced by a light attack. Oh, and I almost forgot. You get it from Fang Lair, guys. Alright? The Dungeon Fang Lair. Alright, next light armor set, Crafty Alfiq. Max mag, max mag, max mag, and more max mag. You guessed it. A bunch of max mag. And this is very beneficial on a mag sorcerer, guys, alright? You can get this from guild traders or the overland and elsewhere. Next up, Mother's Sorrow. It can be found in the overland in Deshawn or through guild traders, guys. Max mag, spell critical, and spell critical. Yep, this is for a crit build, guys, and also for Magicka gankers. Just anything that relies on crit Magicka builds. Next up, Necropotence. It can be found in Rivenspire in the Overland or through guild traders. Max mag, max mag, max mag, and more max mag with a pet active. You can also use this on mag sorks, but you have to have a pet active. Mag crows, mag dins, anything with a pet this would work with. Alright guys, just a bunch of max mag. Next up, Spell Power Cure. Can be found in the Imperial Prison dungeon. DLC, max mag, spell damage, and when you overheal yourself or an ally, you give them more spell damage. So typically it's for healers, but you could still use this in PvP if you have some good heals, alright? It's still beneficial. Next we have Spinner's Garments. It drops in Malabar Tor in the Overland, or through guild traders you can buy it. Max mag, spell damage, and spell pen. It's very good on any Magicka class, because it gives you everything a Magicka class needs, alright? Very basic set, very useful set. Alright, next, Vicious Death. Everyone probably knows this set. You probably died from it in PvP. You can get it in Cyrodiil from the traders, or you can buy it from guild traders. Spell damage, max mag, spell critical, and when you kill a player, they explode for X amount of flame damage to all enemies in a 4-meter radius. Yes, it's a bomb set, alright? So if you want to be a bomber, here you go. Alright, the next light armor set is War Maiden. You can find this in Vardenfell in the Overland, or buy from guild traders. Spell critical, mag, spell damage, and more spell damage to your magic damage abilities. Alright, so this can work on a number of different mag characters, okay? Alright, now we have Thundercaller. Penetration, weapon and spell damage, and when you deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack, call down a bolt of lightning, dealing X amount of shock damage, and leaving a 4-meter lightning crater at their location for 6 seconds, dealing X amount of shock damage per second. This set is very overpowered right now. It's going to get nerfed in the future, so if you want to run it, because it does more damage than it says, just plain and simple, right? So if you want to take advantage of it, I suggest you get it now. It's in Red Petal Bastion. Alright, and the last set of light armor we're going to talk about is Dark Convergence. Max mag, penetration, weapon and spell damage. Then when you cast abilities that leave an effect on the ground, it will create an area that applies a 30% snare and pulls enemies every 2 seconds after a 1-second delay and stuns them for 1 second. After 4 seconds, it deals X amount of magic damage to all enemies in the area, and more magic damage and enemies in the area from 3 meters from the center, increased by 10% for each target. I don't know what to say about this set other than it's broken. It's a bomb set. You want to be a bomber? Run it. You can find it in Cyrodiil or guild traders. And now we moved on to medium armor, guys. Alright, now the first set of medium armor I'll go over is Archer's Mind, located in Dragonstar Arena in Craglorn. Max stam, critical, critical, and Archer's Mind's critical damage increases by 5%. Attacking from stealth increases critical damage by additional 10%. So you guessed it, bow builds and stamina gankers. Alright, the next meta medium armor set, Azurblight Reaper, can be found in the ruins of Mazatoon. Weapon critical, max stam recovery. When you deal damage with damage over time effect, you apply a stack of Blight Seed for 5 seconds. At 20 stacks, it explodes, dealing X amount of disease damage to a target and nearby enemies, scaling off to higher your weapon and spell damage. This set is another stamina bomb set. It works really good on a DK and Stamp Sork because of all the damage over times. Okay. Alright, next medium armor set is Deadlands Assassin. It can be found in Blackwood in the Overland. Weapon damage, max stamina, more weapon damage. When you deal damage to an enemy, heavy attack within 10 meters of you, you throw a cone of knives dealing X amount of damage hit. If the enemy is below 50%, they take an additional X amount of bleed for 13 seconds. Alright, very good on any heavy attack build, especially Stamp Sorks, alright? Next medium armor set, Dagon's Dominion. This can be found in the Cauldron. Weapon damage, stamina, weapon damage, and then 492 weapon damage to your area of effect abilities. This is mostly useful on a Stamplar, guys, alright? Alright, next is the Deadly Strike set. This can be found in the Cyrodiil vendors. Weapon damage, weapon critical, weapon damage, and increases the damage of your physical, bleed, poison, disease damage over time, and channeled abilities. Now this has been changed to 18%, and I believe it's getting nerfed even further to 16% in the next patch. But it's still a very good set. You can run it on almost anything, stamina-wise. Alright guys, very powerful set. Next up, Leviathan. You can get this from Crypt of Hearts dungeon. Max stam, critical, critical, and more critical, guys. So yeah, any crypt build or a stamina ganker, Nightblade, alright? Next up, Plague Break, one of my favorites. You can get it from Cyrodiil vendors or the Guild Trader. Penetration, damage. When you deal direct damage, you can turn them into a Plague character, whoever is not a Plague character, dealing X amount of disease damage over the duration. And if they purify it before the duration's over, if they try to purify it, they will explode for X amount of disease damage, and it will increase by 10% each enemy hit. Alright, they're changing this in the future, nerfing it and buffing it in a way, but it's still a good set, so definitely run this, guys. Stamina builds. Next, we have Powerful Assault. You get this by gaining Telvar and using it in your faction's base. You can buy it with Telvar. Max health, max stam, weapon damage, and when you cast an assault ability, you increase weapon and spell damage to you and up to 4 friendly targets. Now, I believe the spell damage, or weapon and spell damage is higher. I don't know why it's so low on this picture, but yeah, this is a really good set, guys, alright? Really good team set, and just a good set overall. Next up, Shadow of Red Mountain. You can find this in Stone Falls in the Overland or Guild Traders. Weapon damage, max stam, weapon critical. When you deal damage with a weapon, you spawn a volcano doing X amount of flame damage. Now, the only reason why this set is good is because it does a crap ton of flame damage, alright? And everyone's like a vampire right now, so it does do damage, alright? It's a pretty good set. Next up, Sheer Venom, Imperial City Prison. You find this. Stamina, damage. And when you deal damage with an execute ability, you deal poison damage to them. Alright? This set's very niche, but it actually is very good, like, say, on a DK or something. Okay? Because it does do a lot of burst damage, especially when someone's, like, really low health. Okay? Next is Shieldbreaker. You can buy this in Imperial City with Telvar. Max stam recovery, weapon damage, and increase your damage done by 6%, and it's doubled when attacking people with a damage shield. This ain't used too much, but it's still used enough to where I had to put it in this video, alright? It does do decent damage, especially against, you know, like Mag Sorks, alright? Next is Spriggan's Thorns, found in Bankerai Overland. Max stam, weapon damage, and physical penetration. This is overall a really good set for a stam character, very basic, very useful, still gets the job done, right? Without any special procs. People still use it, it's still very viable. Alright, next, Sword Singer, found in the Alakir Desert. Maximum stam, weapon damage, weapon critical, and 600 weapon damage to your two-handed abilities. Very good for two-handed builds that use D-Swing or Onslaught or any one of the two-handed skills. It buffs your rally. It's just very good on a two-handed build. Next up, Unleash Terror, found in Castle Thorn. Weapon damage, max stam, max stam. When you deal direct damage with a blink, charge, leap, teleport, or pull ability, you cut your enemy, cause them to bleed for 10 seconds, dealing X amount of bleed damage, and applying this hemorrhaging status effect. This you can run on almost any stamina build. It's really, really powerful on a werewolf, alright? Super powerful, guys. Okay, the last meta medium armor set is Witch's Night Defiance, guys. You can find this in the Reach and the Overland. Weapon damage, weapon damage, weapon damage, and increase your weapon damage by 369 against enemies afflicted with a poison damage effect. Now, this works really good if you rock a bow or if you're on a DK, right? Anything that applies poison damage. Plus, it's good to wear the 3 or 4 piece because it's just straight up weapon damage, okay? Very good set. Now that brings us to our final category, heavy armor. Now, the first one is the armor of the trainee, right? And this actually comes in all 3 weights. You can get it in the guild trader or the starting zone, all right? It's a 3-piece. You can wear 1, 2, or 3 pieces to get any one of the single benefits, all right? It's one of the only sets to do that. Very beneficial, as you can see, to like mix and match sets, okay? So the first meta heavy armor set we're going to look at is Crimson Oath Rive, getting it from Dread Cellar. Armor, health, armor, and after you drink a potion or cast an ability that applies a major or minor buff to yourself, you send out a wave of energy that reduces the armor of nearby enemies for 3,500. This can stack with all the breaches, minor and major, alright? So it's a defensive and offensive set. It's very good, guys. Very versatile. Next up, Eternal Vigor. This has been a favorite among the community for a while because of the recovery it gives, especially werewolves, mag, stam recovery, health recovery, max health, and then more recoveries above 50% and then health recovery below 50%. Still used to this day, guys, alright? And you can find it in the Reach or Black Reach, okay? Or Guild Traders, alright? Very good set for sustain. Next up, Hrothgar's Chill. You can get this in Cyrodiil or the guild traders. Health, armor, penetration, and then if you stun or immobilize someone, it causes them to burst with frost magic, applying the chill status effect, and it's actually dealing 13% of their physical and spell resistance. It was 26, but now they updated it. They nerfed it to 13 because it was overperforming, but it's still very good, alright, especially on a Mag Warden. Next heavy meta set is Iron Blood. Health, armor, armor. When you take damage, you have a 10% chance to turn your blood to pure iron for 10 seconds. Reduce your damage taken by 30%, but your movement speed is reduced by 50. This comes from Falkreath, the dungeon. This is very good set if you want to be super uber tanky, but it also has the downside of the movement speed, so not a lot of people run it, but it's still very viable, okay? People still do run this. Next, we have Medusa. Comes from Arc's Coronium. Critical, spell critical, spell critical, spell critical, and then gain minor force at all times, upping your critical damage by 10%. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's heavy armor. Why would Magicka users use it? They normally run it on the jewelry or weapons, alright? And it's good for crit builds and magical gankers, if you couldn't have guessed already, alright? It's still a very good set. Mainly used in PvE, but it's still viable in PvP. Alright, Plague Doctor. You can find this in Deshawn Overland or Guild Traders. It gives you a bunch of max health. It's very good if you're going to be a tank in PvP, or if you just want to be really tanky, or you need the health. Either way. I mean, there are better sets to run, but trust me, people still run this set, okay? It gives plenty of health. Very beneficial. Next up, Shock's Exoskeleton. Health, spell damage, spell critical, and gain minor heroism at all times while in combat, triggering one ultimate every 1.5 seconds. I've seen people use this recently on a Magicka character, especially a Warden. It just works really well with the class. And it is heavy armor, so they only wear a couple on the body and then the rest jewelry or weapons. Alright. And the last heavy armor I'm going over with you, and the last armor in this video, Harbinger, Thews of the Harbinger. Max health, stamina, and when you block an attack, you deal X amount of physical damage back to the attacker. Now, you guessed it, this is mainly used by tanks, alright, in PvP. It's actually very beneficial when you pair it with other good sets, alright, guys? And that brings me to the conclusion of this video. I hope you guys learned something. I really hope you did. I hope you guys found out the meta PvP sets, alright? I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.